Good evening from London, wrestling fans. You're watching, I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are watching Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, your one-stop shop for professional wrestling, insight news, and reviews on a daily basis. And today it's Mailbag Monday. We're going to be answering your questions, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm now back after my 48-hour holiday. I had a blast, but while I was gone, couple of people who I need to give a shout out to. Firstly, Shard for hosting Saturday, doing a great job. And then, of course, doing Sunday Night Spotlight last night as well. And secondly, this man, the co-host of the show today, who hosted 2 shows yesterday on what was a very busy day for him, Clark Taylor. How are you, Clark?
I appreciate that, Ben. It was a blast. I had fun recording all the shows and everything. And yeah, anytime I can do 2 shows in a day, I have no problem doing it because it's WR and it's a blast every time. So I can't wait to get into today's stuff. It's mailbag, man. Like, we got a letter. I'm ready. Let's go. Let's get after it.
We do. We have some mail, as they used to say. But also joining us today, we have Josh Markowitz. How are you, Josh?
What's up, Ben? I'm doing great. You know, just like Clark said, it's Mailbag Monday. I'm ready to open up the mailbox. Just looking to my left over here on my right. We got some great topics to talk about. King of the Ring, Cody Rhodes, WrestleMania. Ton of good stuff to talk about. I'm ecstatic to talk about it. So let's get into it.
Absolutely. It's going to be a fun one. But last but certainly not least, we have Soul. How are you, Soul?
Okay, so I'm okay in general, but last night a little something happened, right? Me and my mate playing Fortnite, couple of drinks and everything, and I saw something for sale. I was like, oh, this is interesting. And in my inebriated mindset, I bought it. So coming to my place soon enough and for the studio will be a piece of WWE history. So yeah, that's going to be real fun. And my bank account screaming at me thinking I'm an idiot for buying it, but you know, you got to take the opportunity, eh?
I'm excited to see that. I really, really am. I mean, now I want to know what it is. I think we've been teased.
Yeah. Well, that's for another daily then. When I can come on, I'll show off my WWE history. Well, I mean, I could, you know what? I'm a generous man. I'll give a tease. Ooh. It is a part of NXT UK history.
Don't tell me. Oh, have you bought a replica belt by any chance?
Oh, no. This is not a replica. It's not. This is something official that was a part of NXT UK's history. This could be featured on WWE's like most wanted treasure of how official this thing is.
Well, Soul, you'll be starring on that in a few years, that's for sure. I mean, now I really am interested. It's
Tyler Bates' towel. I'm kidding.
Maybe
Did I guess it? Okay, wait a minute. If I guessed it, you gotta let me know.
Oh no. Well, you're kind of along the same ball. You're kind of along the ballpark, but you know what? That's it. We can't get more into it.
I was trying to think of like what's something it could be.
I'm sure that WR Universe in the comments on Instagram and YouTube will be making guesses and all there. And if somebody does get it right, I will congratulate them and then reveal it. Okay, so you have at it, WR Universe. Get your guesses in.
Well, David Mards can't wait to see what you're going to share, and he's also very hyped for Mailbag Monday. Numero 1 Superflies in the chat as well. Shout out to you, Numero 1. I hope you're having a great Monday. But before we dive into that mailbag, we open it all up, we see what's inside. Let's firstly talk the king and the queen of the ring, because we now know the semi-final matches. We have Jey Uso versus Gunther for the king of the ring on the men's side, on the Raw side, sorry, and then Tama Tonga versus Randy Orton on the SmackDown side. Then as for the queen of the ring on the Raw side, tonight we have Lyra Valkyria. I can never say it, Mark. Valkyria. There we are. Against Io Sky and Bianca Belair versus Nia Jax for SmackDown. I mean, these semi-finals are stacked, but Clark, I want to bring you in out of the gates, and I want to ask you, what are your predictions for the semi-finals of King and Queen of the Ring?
I think we're kind of looking at Nia Jax waltzing to a victory. To be completely honest, as Queen of the Ring, I did not actually end up picking her after I delivered that take about her potentially joining the Bloodline. But now it seems like the writing's on the wall. After she beat Jade Cargill, by DQ, dominant on the way there. I think Nia Jax makes the most sense here. And basically that's my pick for the whole Queen of the Ring tournament. On the other side, I think it'd be really cool to give Lyra the shot, at least in the semifinals, that she went on a big run. It'd be great for her in the future on Raw and everything. I think the writing, speaking of writing being on the wall, I think it's kind of on the wall. She's going to be teaming with Becky Lynch here shortly. So to
That's true.
lose in the long run, but in the finals as opposed to the semis, I'm all for that sort of to be able to strengthen her character before she does stand alongside Becky Lynch, because the last thing you want is for somebody you just called up to be completely overshadowed in a tag team scenario. And I think that's a way that we can elevate her character, getting to the brink of winning Queen of the Ring, maybe, and taking the loss to somebody as dominant as Nia Jax would be fair. But that's my pick for the finals, and that's the way that I see it going. At this point, I was stunned. I thought a few of our picks last week were shoo-ins, and that's not what we got. So I was impressed by that in and of itself, despite the execution being a little bit wonky when it came to Jade and Nia.
I'm glad you agree with me on that, Clark, because I got some hating on that.
Yeah, it was wonky.
It certainly was. I mean, your take there about Lyra, getting the victory. I mean, that does make a lot of sense, to be honest with you, because in that match, you automatically think Io Sky is going to go through. But if Nia Jax does beat Bianca, well, we can't have heel versus heel, can we? And Damage Control are still heels. So hey, it's going to be interesting. That is for sure. I mean, what about on the men's side?
Okay, wait. On the men's side, I'm still pretty dang confident it's going to be Gunther. So that's like hard to avoid making that pick. Gunther Orton makes the most sense. Get it out of the way while they're both healthy enough and here to do it, just in case we miss it somehow. We haven't had it yet. That's a classic match between two absolute, speaking of ring generals, right? I think anyone can agree that Randy Orton is also a ring general. So that would it's a match that should happen at some point. Why not? The tournament adds up at this point where it can happen. I mean, obviously Tama Tonga is dangerous. You can't forget about the possibility of some interference. But again, we're looking at heel versus heel in that scenario. If we end up with Tama and Gunther, and my pick is still Gunther to win. So I think we end up somehow here with Gunther and Orton. And Gunther goes over.
Oh, I mean, I think that's what they should do. I really, really do. I think you're bang on the money. That is what they should do. But I'm actually going to go the opposite of you completely. I reckon the internet's going to go into, an absolute meltdown, because I reckon Jay is going to beat Gunther and Tama Tonga is going to beat Orton. And it's going to lead to the next part of this bloodline civil war. And it's how we get, Jay and them. They shouldn't do that, but I think that's what they might end up doing.
I'm a little afraid that that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, I am as well. But Josh, what about you? Are you a bit more hopeful compared to us about, what could be next? And what are your predictions for the semifinals of the King of the Ring?
Yeah, what you just said actually does scare me, because I can see that happening, and I think Gunther needs to win the King of the Ring. I think he's the ring general. Literally, his entire personality and character is based on how he's the best in the world, and he's destroyed everyone. He's had everyone tap out so far that he's faced off. So yeah, he should be the one that's crowned ultimately, and I am definitely scared because we've seen how over Jey Uso is. It's not concerning. It's great how over Jey Uso is. But in terms of this match and the internet wrestling community, I do think that there's a chance that Jey Uso could win tonight for sure. But I do think the finals are either going to be Uso versus Tonga or Gunther versus Orton. I don't really think there's another route to go, honestly. The heel versus heel thing doesn't really work out. But I predict and I do hope it's going to be Gunther versus Orton, just like Clark said, Randy Orton, he's performing at such a high level, but he is reaching that age, and he's been injured many times, so hopefully not knock on wood that he doesn't get injured again. But let's just get this match not out of the way, but sort of, because we want them to compete. We want to see these two guys go at it. They're both ring generals, just like you said, and it would be an unbelievable match. I think everybody knows that. So that's my prediction. I think it's going to be Gunter versus Orton in the finals. Now for the Queen side, I think I want Lyra Valkyria to get the win here tonight, and move on to the finals. She's been an underdog in the tournament. It'd be great to get her in the finals on a PLE match, especially as the general audience is kind of getting used to seeing her because she's new, fresh off of NXT. So that'd be great. And I do think for the SmackDown side, Nia Jax versus Belair, I think I'm going to take Jax here, just like Clark said. She's having a phenomenal career resurgence since like last fall, and her improvement in character work, mic work, crowd work, it's evident. It's insane. She's doing great. She definitely deserves this crown, and I think that crown will definitely help elevate her obnoxious like character. But that's my prediction. So I think it'll be Jax Valkyrie in the finals, and I think I'm going to take Nia Jax to take it all home.
I mean, Josh, I agree with you, and I agree with Clark that I think Nia Jax is the move. I think it's what they should do. But again, I'm going to disagree completely because I'm predicting Bianca Belair is going to defeat Nia Jax, even with the injury, and Io Sky is going to defeat Lyra. And I reckon the way this is going to go down is Jade Cargill is going to get jealous that Bianca Belair, won Queen of the Ring or something like that. And maybe that's why they had them in it. Because if not, I can't get my head around why on earth the Women's Tag Team Champions were in it. But Soul, we know you love predictions, and I want to hear yours right now. Who are you predicting for the King and Queen of the Ring semifinals?
Looking at this, you have to think about long term of, we look at Xavier Woods and Zelina Vega the last time. Xavier was the face, Zelina Vega was the heel. So you want that you don't want two heels or two faces because you don't get a dynamic from it. And also you need to think, if the person wins this King and Queen of the Ring, tournament, are they going to adopt the King and Queen gimmick? I mean, because, no offense, King Gunther doesn't really appeal to me, no offense. It just seems very hokey. Like you're putting a dominant powerhouse force like Gunther, and you're just going to stick the scepter and crown on him, and he's going to run around like a king and all that. I'm not really a fan of that. So I honestly think that for the King side, I think Tama Tonga is going to take this all the way home. I think it's going to be Jay and Tama at the finals at the pay-per-view. Because, the bloodline is really, the basket, in, as I like to say for WWE right now. They're putting everything into it. Cody Rhodes, their champion's involved with it. They've got The Rock, one of the biggest stars in the wrestling industry, involved with it. They've got the new blood with Tama Tonga, Solo Sikoa, and Tangaloa all involved in it, and Paul Heyman as well. So it's sort of like, well, why don't, it's absolutely fine to all focus on that, because if it's drawing money and it's what people are really connecting with, run with it to the hills. But if one part of that basket unravels and unthreads, you're kind of screwed. But hey, I'm all fine with them doing Jay and Tama Tonga in the finals. That would be very interesting, and it is bloodline associated, and that just sells hotcakes. Cha-ching. Now for the Queen side, I'm kind of stuck between Lyra Valkyria or Bianca Belair winning this. You mentioned Bianca, obviously that would go to force with the Jade storyline, but then it kind of makes me think back to, that kind of makes me think to Sasha Banks and Naomi with the tag titles when they walked out because they were put against each other in a random match, and it was just they're thrown together. Having the two women tag titles in this tournament and it not going anything out with it when one's lost and one succeeded, I feel like it should breed jealousy sort of thing. But having Valkyria win it, I think as Queen Valkyria would be a very interesting gimmick and character. The way she is now, pretty good, that's fine. But having this Queen Valkyria gimmick could be interesting. Maybe have all white feathers and adopting a Valkyrie from the 4 movies or something like that, not riding on a Pegasus or something, but the white armor and being an angelic force sort of thing could maybe work in the character way and be something interesting to try. So I think Tama Tonga and I'm just gonna say Lyra Valkyria are gonna end up being King and Queen of the Ring.
That seriously, I mean, could be interesting. Lyra being pushed to the moon. We have Queen Vera 964 in the comments over on Instagram saying Jay, the King predicting Jey Uso there. We have Melissa in the comments over on YouTube. Shout out to Melissa. And we have David Marge saying Jey versus Tama would be fire. Indeed, it would be. We have Numero One Superfly saying that he's got Gunther and Io Sky advancing to the finals. And then on SmackDown, Randy Orton and Bianca Belair. So, I mean, everybody's quite split here, you know. We complained last week that everything seemed a little bit too predictable. Well, now it seems that, you know, it seems there's a bit more, there's been more elements of the unexpected, shall we say. But Clark, I want to bring you in because we have got to go and we have got to open the mail, don't we?
What do we want to talk about?
Oh no, oh dear. We have a question from Mark. These names, guys, I'm so bad at reading them.
Marky Mark in the
on
phone.
top 12 saying, how do you all feel about Cody's reign so far? Do you think Triple H is doing a poor booking with him so far? I mean, listen, ultimately, we're like just over a month out from WrestleMania. It's a time of the year where there's always a bit of a lull period in wrestling. And I thought his match against AJ Styles was fire. I thought it was a phenomenal matchup. But the story leading into it, well, it wasn't so great. But now Cody and Logan, well, I think they're building up to their match. You know, I think they're building up to the match quite decently. But Clark, you have always been a Cody hater, right?
Well, I would say critic.
Cody critic, right? He's not a Cody crybaby.
Not
He's
a hater.
Cody critic, right?
I don't
He doesn't
hate
like
anybody.
his tie clips. He doesn't like
Well,
how
I
he
hate his
holds the
tie clips,
title.
but I don't hate him.
Right, okay, but he doesn't hate Cody Rhodes. He just hates the tie clips and everything else about him too. But Clark, I want to
like
get
some
your
other
thoughts.
things about him. I think he's cool.
What do you like about him?
I like the Cody Cutter looks cool, even though it's kind of like stolen.
Oh,
And then I like that he's really nice to fans. I think that's cool. Yeah.
Nice guy.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. He seems like
He is.
I feel like I would get along with him if we like had a beer or something, like totally.
Yeah, he's the perfect babyface for the company then. But in all seriousness,
Not to address
what
the
is your-
question. Yeah.
What is your thoughts on his title reign thus
As
far?
far as the actual question at hand is concerned, I don't blame Triple H for this, but this is kind of, we got what we wished for. I mean, I hate to be like the I told you so guy, but like now that the story's over, the pressure's on. Like Ben said, Logan Paul, it's interesting, but it does feel very much like Logan's not going to win the WWE title. It's not happening. Like Cody Rhodes is going over here, and that's cool, and the promotion's been good so far, but it's going to be interesting how long this can stretch out with Cody as the babyface not on the chase, because he's in a position where very, very, very quickly fans can sour on him coming out and being the howdy doody, smiling, handshaking babyface. He's got to be fighting from underneath in some way. It's possible to have somebody carry the title and still fight from underneath. We've seen it in the past. I would have gone Gunther right away with the Intercontinental title off Gunther. I would have gone with Gunther right out of the gates and make it feel like Cody's fighting from underneath, and it's inevitable that Gunther's going to win the title. That obviously didn't work out, and it doesn't make sense brands wise, but that's just what I would have done, because I don't see a scenario where Cody doesn't get stale just continuing to carry the title and babyface people and smile and sign autographs and kiss babies. Like, that is not quite enough at this point to stay completely behind him. His American Nightmare, I think, is very possible, like we saw in AEW where the crowd staled on him. And that I actually don't want to see, because it completely ruins me making fun of the tie clips. If everyone else is doing it, then I'm going to have to get behind him. And that's going to throw me off a ton. That's going to throw the whole thing off. It's going to ruin the system. And so I need it to stay not stale for me to continue to make fun of the tie clips.
That is, I'm a Cody critic because everybody else is a Cody crybaby. Fair. I mean, I understand. Yeah, I get. I don't.
I think it's
why
funny.
should it matter if other people do? I don't know.
It doesn't,
Clark.
but it does.
Now, Jay Maloney2181 on Instagram is not a fan of you, Clark. He's a Clark critic, I reckon. He's
Good.
clearly a Cody crybaby like myself. I'm a big Cody fan. But we have Queen Vera who's saying, Cody, the champion. And we have Goatee World saying, Cody's title run is cool with him because he wrestles nearly every week. That's a great point as well, Clark. He's a fighting champion.
It's awesome. I think that's very admirable and cool and babyface-ish, but it also runs the risk of, like I said, people tiring. Too much oversaturation.
That's true. It's not wrong.
It can be both. It can happen at any moment. I don't think it's happened yet. Logan Paul, I think, has been well built, but I would prefer something where it feels much more like Cody's the underdog than Logan Paul's one lucky punch is the underdog. Like, right? Like,
no, I get it. It is hard to have a babyface champion in a day and age like this. I said about it why I personally would not have Cody hold the title into WrestleMania is because it's too long for a babyface to hold a title in this day and age unless he's turning heel. And he's such a great moneymaker for the company that even though I think he could play a perfect heel, and he has done in the past, I don't think that's the move. Number one Superfly is saying Cody's reign as champion is okay so far. Well, Clark, do you know what's better than okay?
Oh, is it next level?
It is Next Level indeed. Now, if you guys don't know who Next Level are, basically, they've got put all our social media links into one link, right? There's not a million different links. There's only one, and it's nxconnect.me/Wrestling Republic to see all our content across all platforms linked all in one place. But that's not all. It's also its own form of social media as well, where people can share content from all over the internet and put it together. There's a thriving wrestling community on there. And just in case that just wasn't enough for you, they're also currently giving away a $100 WWE shop voucher. To enter the giveaway, all you need to do is click the link, scroll to the bottom, and there'll be some instructions on how to enter the giveaway. It's free. You have nothing to lose. It's a completely free app. You can see all our content from, everywhere. I mean, it's a no-brainer, guys. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. And, worst comes to worst, you've got a new app where people can talk about wrestling. Like, it's sick. Like, it's a no-brainer. I say it every day. It's nxconnect.me/Wrestling Republic to see all our content across all platforms linked all in one place. But now let's get back to the mail because we have another question. And for this question, I want to bring in Soul. Because Soul, I think you might have an interesting take on this one. First things first, let me read out the question. It is from @Orgic111. Hopefully I said that right on Instagram, who is saying, what is your opinion on WWE wasting LA Knight so far? I don't think he's been wasted because he's about 97 years old. So why would they push a man when he's basically on his deathbed? What's your thoughts on this, Soul? Do you reckon WWE have wasted LA Knight?
Was this Orgus111 who suggested this? This is their comment. Right?
111, yeah.
Right. Well, you're an Egypt. You're an absolute Egypt. I mean, how? So a wrestler's considered wasted if they've had a WrestleMania match, they've challenged for the World Championship twice, they've had a Money in the Bank opportunity match in London, they've done stuff in Saudi, they're the face of Slim Jim, they're also one of the biggest merch movers in the company, and that's wasted? Sure. Cool beans, my friends. Cool beans. But here's the thing. I compare what LA Knight is to Jay White in AEW. Now, here's why. Both of these individuals came into the company, a wee bit of a rocky start. Max Dupree and Jay White was kind of a bit floundering for a wee time, maybe about a week or two. Then they ended up going to challenge for the World Championship. Sadly, they lose. Then they enter a tournament. King of the Ring for LA Knight. And Jay White then did the Continental Classic. Then, after that, what happened to Jay White? Oh, he won a championship. And what's happening to LA Knight? teases with Logan Paul, who has the US title at SummerSlam. He's going to win. That's probably why. I don't know why you're being an idiot about it. Like, I don't know how you consider wasted when somebody has done all the things I've listed off. I think it's just the fact that people are angry that he didn't win Money in the Bank. He didn't get the WWE Championship. Money in the Bank, Damian Priest won it, led to El Senior Money in the Bank. He got a custom briefcase. It's probably sold a lot of money as well. He got a WrestleMania moment out of it. Now look at the WWE Championship. Roman held that belt. We knew Cody was the guy to take it off, even if Allison disagreed until the 9th inning. But, like, no offense, no one was going to take that belt off Roman except Mr. Cody Rhodes. So people saying, oh, he's wasted because you didn't get what you want, like you didn't get Gunther versus Dragunov in the King of the Ring tournament because you want it immediately now because you're all ungrateful idiots. Calm down.
That's your
Take
word
a
of the
little
week.
sip of your Capri Sun, go and sit in the corner and learn about a word in the dictionary called patience.
Well, so I'm going to be honest with you. I agreed with 95% of what you said there. I actually think you hit the nail on the head. Only thing I disagree with is the Jay White comparison, because the difference for me personally, and this is a debate for another day, is that LA Knight is being put into positions where he can kill it. He can do what he does best. Whereas I feel like Jay White is not being put in the positions where, he can do what he does best. But that's a different debate for another day. The chants are back.
Yeah.
We have Fast John B on Instagram saying, I don't think he's getting wasted. He's getting insane pops. He's not taking a lot of L's. Plus the tease they did on SmackDown with him and Logan means that LA Knight might be getting the US title.
Yeah.
I agree with both of what you said about that. 26 WWE saying, hi, hello to you. And Numa One to Fly is incorrectly pointing out how LA Knight is 97 years old. He's actually 114. He had a few birthdays while we were talking.
Don't worry, folks.
He made the Smuckers list.
He's still angry about Arsenal losing and being kicked out to the lower leagues that they belong in. But I mean, hey, it happens. It happens. Don't worry. Arsenal will bring it home like England. Never.
You finished second. We're not relegated from anything. We're still in Europe.
You're not number one, though. You're not number one.
I hope somebody got the Smuckers jars.
David March. Shout out to David March. It's actually 115, but still, 115 charges is what Manchester City currently have against them. How many charges do Arsenal have against us? 0, 0, 0. If the league wasn't rigged, we'd be champions. But anyway, enough about this all. I want to move on to the next topic, and I want to bring in Josh Fred. Josh, I hope you don't bring up anything about Arsenal, because we have a question from Neo Martin 97 saying, which wrestler did you think would be more successful than they ended up being? A very fun question, this one. And Josh, I can't wait to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, this is a really fun question, actually. Thanks for the question. When I found out I was going to be, talking about this, I actually did think hard. However, I did end up choosing the one guy that I thought of first. So just a disclaimer, by any means, I'm not saying that this wrestler is not successful, because he for sure is. He made it to 2 of the biggest companies in the world. However, he's not nearly as successful as I would have hoped he was when he first kind of made it big. So a wrestler I thought would be more successful, but he wasn't, is Malachi Black. So here's why. Let's start off in NXT. The look, the entrance, the character, the moves, the eerie feeling you get from him when he enters the building. He had the definition of the it factor, exactly what Triple H and all of WWE Creative and all the scouts and all the best wrestlers and managers and promoters in the world want from you. That is what Aleister Black at the time had. He had that it factor. He dominated NXT for about 2 years. He won the NXT championship, but he only held it for about 70 days. And then soon he won the Dusty Rhodes Classic with Ricochet. He had some good matches. He had some great matches. He was very, very good in NXT. And watching him in NXT in that black and gold era, I was ecstatic to see him perform at the main event level once he got to Raw or SmackDown. And then soon enough, after holding that NXT championship for a bit, he made it to the main roster. He debuted on Raw, and I was certain he was going to be a mid-card champion ASAP and a WWE champion for sure. I mean, look at his moveset. Look at his entrance was awesome. He came up from the ground. He was on WrestleMania as an NXT superstar technically with Ricochet when they challenged for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships in 2019. So I was for sure certain that he would win a belt in no time in WWE. And it didn't happen. It never happened. He never won a main roster belt, and I was very, very sad just to see that happen and to see them fumble him. I think that it may have just been because of COVID, which I understand. It was tough. It was tough building, superstars and characters. However, I do think they had enough time before that to really build him, and they didn't, especially because Triple H did such a good job building him in NXT. And then they just kind of fumbled it once Vince got the bag, which kind of makes sense. And then he went to AEW, and I thought to myself, all right, WWE fumbled their bag. AEW is going to make this guy a champion in no time. I have no question about it. Well, he's been with the company for over 3 years now, and he's only held one belt, the Trios Championship, which, sorry, but in my opinion, debatably, the least important belt in that company is the Trios Champion, and the least impactful one, at least. And, he's been presented well, but not as good as he should be. With a guy of that talent, that look, the microphone skill, he should have been a top guy in WWE and a top guy wherever he goes. And frankly, he just wasn't. I do think Aleister Black has, unfortunately, I think he did underachieve. And I don't think it's his fault. I think that it is both Tony Khan's fault, Vince McMahon's fault. I think Triple H did a great job building him up to what he should have been. And then Vince McMahon fumbled. Tony Khan got him, but classic Tony Khan fumbling the bag. So, I do think he was successful. Just it's sad to see how, what his potential could have been and how he never really reached that level.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I was such an Aleister Black fan when he was in NXT. I thought this guy could be, it's cringe to say, and he was never going to be this level, but like the next Undertaker or whatever, the next, dark character, and he had so much potential, and they wasted him. They truly, truly did. AEW, I feel like they've done a good. So the difference between WWE and AEW with his treatment is that I think AEW have used him and his character correctly, but they've just not given him the opportunities, and they've not spotlighted him enough. Recently they have, but the rest of his run they haven't.
No,
and it is frustrating. It really, really is, because he's kind of been wasted in two different ways when he is just such a great, great talent. It's so, so frustrating. But now let's move on to our big. Well, actually, before we move on to our big question of the day, I want to go to David Marge's commenting. I think Malachi Black is going to have a good barbed wire cage match this weekend. I'm hyped for that. That is a great shout, David.
Yeah.
No doubt. Fast John B is saying Mr. Kennedy, Carlito, Umaga, Keith Lee, Buddy Murphy, Shelton Benjamin, and John Morrison all underachieved. Some great shouts there as well.
Yeah, great
Mr.
shouts.
Kennedy, that's a throwback and a half.
Mr. Kennedy. Kennedy.
Oh gosh, those were the days, weren't they, gentlemen? But now let's get the last topic of the day, the main event, some might say. And here's a question from @WrestlingRush, who is asking, they're basically asking, should it be Roman Reigns versus The Rock at WrestleMania 41, or should it be Cody Rhodes versus The Rock? I am firstly going to start this what I think they're going to do. I am just convinced, and I hope I'm wrong, right? And maybe I'm not convinced, that's a bit of an exaggeration. I am 80% sure that they're going to do The Rock versus Cody at the Royal Rumble, and The Rock's going to win, and then at Mania, they're going to do Rock Roman Reigns. And I think the internet is going to explode, and it is going to melt, unless Clark's prediction that fans will turn on Cody does happen first. We'll have to wait and see. But Josh, I want to know your prediction. Rock Cody or Rock Reigns? What's your call?
I think the way to go, WrestleMania 41, Las Vegas, it's got to be Roman Reigns versus The Rock. Currently we're in that first chapter of the new book of the Bloodline. We're seeing the Bloodline 2.0, and I believe that soon we're going to see a good guy, Roman Reigns, come back. I wouldn't say a good guy like his face character. I would just say like a guy that we're going to cheer for more than we're going to cheer for Solo or Tama Tonga or Tonga Loa. I think he'll still be that final boss-esque character, but we'll just cheer for him more because he's not facing off against any guy like Cody Rhodes or any other face character. He's facing off against the bad guys. So, I think Cody Rhodes versus The Rock would be a good idea for sure. Somewhere Royal Rumble, like you said. I don't think SummerSlam would work. It's too soon, and I know The Rock's filming and just doing a bunch of different stuff. But that's for sure a match that needs to happen just because, they teased it literally the Raw after Mania. So that's definitely a match that's in the making 100%. But the way to go, WrestleMania, they're gonna promote as the biggest WrestleMania of all time. It's in Las Vegas. It's a huge place to have WrestleMania. You got to do Roman Reigns versus The Rock. Yeah, I think there's going to be a whole different bunch of chapters. The Rock's going to come back. He'll align himself with the heels. He'll align himself with, Solo, Tamatanga, and then maybe perhaps Roman, Jay, and Jimmy kind of team up as the good guys of the bloodline versus the bad guys of the bloodline. We get, intertwined battles between them. And I think eventually leading to the big final chapter of that book, which will be The Rock versus Roman Reigns, WrestleMania 41 main event, a match teased for a year and anticipated for decades. So I think it only makes sense to put this at the main event of, the biggest wrestling show of the year because it has potential to be the biggest wrestling match of all time.
I couldn't agree more, Josh. And I'm going to be honest. I thought when I said that, I thought you were going to disagree. I thought everybody was going to disagree, but the comments agree as well because number one Superfly is saying Roman versus Rock. Anthony Manzano is saying Tweener Roman. David March is saying, I think 41, 42, 43 WrestleManias, they will have some really special stuff planned. I agree. And no doubt every single one of them, they're going to call the biggest WrestleMania ever because they do it every time. But I mean, we deserve it, is what David March says, and I agree completely. But Chris Leclerc disagrees. He says he wants to see Cody versus The Rock. Well, Soul, who do you agree or disagree with? I want to get your thoughts.
So either one will sell money. It'll sell tickets. It will be an eye drop. It'll bring people to watch WrestleMania, even though I think realistically WrestleMania sells itself because it's been a stable for so long within American culture that you could put anything on that card and people will turn up for it. But the thing is, you could have both these matches happen. You could have Rock and Reigns on night one and then Rock and Cody on night two. Maybe do Rock and Reigns as a number one contendership on night one, then night two, and then have Rock and Cody. That's something you could do. The only thing I think is if you give say if Cody has to drop the title to The Rock or someone, or Reigns or something like that, and then you kind of want WrestleMania people who are going to main event and win championships, people that stick around. Rock isn't someone that's going to stick around. You'll be there for a month or three, do the things, and go away to Hollywood to make more terrible movies. Now, I think honestly you should do Rock and Cody. It's the story we've been told, and it's the story we're told that we're going to get. Yes, you could do it at the Rumble. Yes, you could even do it at Saudi if you really want to, appeal to that crowd and what they want to get out of the monies they're paying for the product they're getting over there. But I just think Rock and Cody is the more logical path to go. Do that first. Heck, you could have Reigns come back and interfere. We could have a whole nother interfering shamble like last year, even though I don't think it will work. It worked in that moment there because I have so much build towards it. Doing it here now with Reigns coming back, yes, you could harken it back to how he returned as the tribal chief. Now maybe have him turn back as the tribal warrior or kind of like a liberator. He's liberating the bloodline from the head faction of The Rock and Solo and letting maybe all those people go free and doing their own things, and then do Rock and Reigns at Saudi. Because ideally, out of all the big things you want to do it as, it would either be one of the big four or it's going to be a Saudi show where you're going to get one of these big types of matches. I just think if you're going to do it at WrestleMania, especially with the title on the line, you want somebody there who's going to stick around and who's going to win that match and continue to do the house show circuit, continue to be there for a merch seller, and continue to have a present on a show that's going to be on Netflix by the time this happens as well. So you kind of really want somebody who's going to be there long term to stick there long term.
I mean, that is a very good perspective, and I agree. I don't think if Rock does beat Cody at the Rumble, I reckon he's dropping it to Reigns at Mania, and then I reckon Reigns is probably dropping it at SummerSlam or something. I don't reckon he's going to have the same well, I hope he doesn't have the same length of a reign he had before. And that's coming from me, who's a big Roman Reigns fan, right? But David Marge is saying that he could see Rock versus Reigns done at a Saudi pay-per-view. He agrees with you, Sol. And we have a few comments over on Instagram. We got Fast John B saying Rock versus Roman to see who the real tribal chief is. No championship. It doesn't need a championship. It's all about family. I've said this before and I'll say it again. I agree with that point on paper. But when it comes to market, when it comes to, marketing a fight, a match in any, combat sport, you always want a championship involved when it's, a big one. You always do. That's why these influencer fights right at the start, they had these like created championships. That's why in the UFC, they created, the BMF championship as well. Like, I mean, it's
greatest fight of all time, though.
I mean, this is
it did produce the greatest fight of all time.
Wrestling, and Roman Reigns and Rock as individuals. I'm sorry, I have to disagree there 100% because The Rock and Roman Reigns as characters are draws within themselves. Cody was look when Cody didn't have the championship. Man was selling merch like going out of style, like it was a fire sale.
He was, but that wasn't casuals.
There's no casual fans. There's only relapsed fans. Brother, there's only
no, let's not do this again.
Fans. We're not getting into that again. Look, Rock and Roman can happen. It doesn't need a championship. You want the championship on somebody who needs elevated and who's going to be there long term. Roman Reigns isn't going to be around for much longer, I think. I think Roman Reigns is going to do this bloodline story. He's going to then elevate Solo Sikoa, and he's gone. He'll be in the Hall of Fame by 2026.
Wow.
I think that's
cool.
It's a call. I think it as well. Man's left his legacy. He's had one of the most dominant runs in the entire wrestling entertainment business in the last 20 to 30 years. Go out on top. Finish up what you're doing now with the bloodline that elevates your family for the next generation and go out being known as the guy who elevated your entire family bloodline for the next generation of the wrestling business.
Well, fair enough. I can't see him go. I think he's going to do a Brock Lesnar like schedule for the next 5 to maybe even 10 years. He's still young. People forget. I think people have kind of overestimated his intentions in Hollywood because I think he's somebody who does just like to be with his family quite a bit. But Clark, last but certainly not least, I want to get your thoughts. Rock versus your personal favorite, Cody,
this
or
is
Rock versus Reigns?
No-brainer for me, Ben, in almost every way. So one of the greatest nicknames in the history of professional baseball, 2017 Hall of Famer Tim Rock Reigns. Not that long ago, if you Googled Rock Reigns, that's what comes up. It's one of the best leadoff hitters to ever play the game. 2017 Major League Baseball Hall of Famer. No one called him Tim Reigns. He was Rock Reigns. If you Google Rock Reigns right now and you don't include baseball at the end of it, you know what comes up? The Rock versus Roman Reigns. It is a no-brainer. It's Rock versus Reigns. It's a no-brainer. You know why? Because Cody finished his story. I don't care about the stupid handshake or whatever Rock handed him or any of that. I want to see the bloodline, the final boss, as he calls himself, and then the tribal chief, as he calls himself, figure out really who is the head of the table. There's story-wise, what's Cody got to prove? The Rock's the final boss? This isn't a video game. I don't get it. So he's going to jump through hoops all year and get the Rock next year too? Like, no. Keep that separate. The story's over. He beat the bloodline. He defeated the final boss without having to pin him clean. But I don't think we need to see that, or at least I'm not chomping at the bit to see it. Roman and The Rock is the best poster you can make. It's the best marquee you can make. It's the two biggest names in the industry currently. They're related. There's the bloodline aspect of the story. It's the no-brainer main event of next year's WrestleMania. It's more no-brainer than Cody Roman 2 was in Philly. And that was no-brainer. No big deal. And they took a cool route to get there. I'll give them credit. They might have even, if it's true, I don't know, they might have even almost like changed course to get there.
Cody confirmed it today. They did.
Yeah.
Cody was told the day of the Rumble it was going to be Rock Reigns.
So that's key. That's key information there, and I think they went about it the correct way. They got it right this time. I think Cody was still the no-brainer choice, but for the next one, it's Rock and Roman, because absence makes the heart grow fonder, and we're gonna miss Roman
It's true.
over the next 4 or 5 months. We are. 3 months. Depends on how long it takes him to get back, but we're gonna miss him. We already do.
I just want to bring up something very quickly. Well, David Martin and Cody Rhodes changed the game, and that's what I want to touch on very quickly, right? Clark, if Cody, which you said now, he found out the morning of the Royal Rumble that it was going to be Rock versus Reigns, then why did he point to Roman Reigns? Why did he trademark the term, whatever the era is, the Renaissance era, which was, people were, speculating
Yep.
that was going to be the new term instead of the Triple H era. Did Cody
don't work for me,
Rhodes
brother.
try and play his hand?
Maybe. I mean, honestly, good
I
for
think he
him
did.
if he did. I think
I
social media
respect
did
it.
too. I think
I respect it, but
I think social media
Cody-
did as well.
Oh, no doubt, social media played a big part in it. But I
Huge.
reckon
The fans played a
Cody-
giant role, I think, in that booking.
No doubt about it. That's true. But I do also think that maybe Cody might have, been a little bit sneaky. And I respect that. I really, really do.
Yeah.
But Chris Leclerc says Roman Reigns doesn't have much left. He's
Ooh.
nearly 4 years younger than LA Knight. Don't give me this, guys. Don't give me this.
Yeah, no, I disagree with
The
that.
difference I would say with Roman is he does have a history of illness that is still active, that he's still
That's
taking
true.
medication.
That is true.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
He's still on oral chemotherapy, which is insane.
I mean,
that
the
he
fact that
performs-
he's still the fact that he's still gone as long as he has while on that medication shows that he's an absolute beast.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. The GOAT, the tribal chief, the head of the table. There's a million things we can talk about when we talk about Roman Reigns, but we do not have time to talk about them today because this does bring us to the end of the show. Thank you, Clark. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Saul, for joining me today. And thank you to everybody who's been commenting throughout the show. Please like, subscribe wherever you are watching. We'll be live tomorrow, same time, same place. Shard's hosting for the Raw review. Also, check out Allison Analysis tomorrow morning on the YouTube channel as well. We will see you guys next time. Peace.